Hi YouTube, welcome to Tractor Talk with Gary. Today my topic's going to be on a serious note. I don't normally do this on YouTube. I'm on Facebook and I let it rip on Facebook, but not so much on YouTube. Usually want to keep away from this on YouTube. Before we get too far into this, since it's going to be so serious, I'd like to tell a little joke, kind of lighten things up for a little bit, and then we'll settle into this later on. Anyway, there was a woman got pulled over by a cop for speeding. The cop walks up to the window and identifies himself and asks for her license. She hands him her license. He's looking at it, and he goes, looks at her, and he goes, "It says here you're restricted to wearing glasses." And she goes, "I have contacts." And he goes, "I don't care who you know. You are restricted to wearing glasses." So there's our joke for the day. Anyway, we're facing a pretty serious time in history. The most serious time, I think, in our country's history that we've ever faced. We are at a definite crossroads here. Excuse me. And if you're one of the people that the media says are undecided about this election coming up, I don't believe that. I don't see how. There's never been a more stark contrast in the two presidential candidates than we've got right now. And I know that part of this, the problem that we have in our country, is the media. The media is public enemy number one. Let me give you 4 examples in case you don't agree with me. Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman down in Florida. Remember that we were told that George Zimmerman was a white Hispanic? Racial division. And we have Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and look at all the riots and stuff that came out of that. What was he doing? He was walking down the sidewalk. A cop stopped him, didn't even know that that was the guy that he had the call about, that he was responding to, or not for sure anyway. And Michael Brown was told to get on the sidewalk and out of the street. So instead of doing what he was told and just getting on the sidewalk where he should have been, he decided to get physical and punched the cop in the eye, broke his eye socket, then tried to pull his gun away from him. Got himself shot and killed. And we were told by the media that that was a white police officer shooting a innocent black man. And then we had Kyle Rittenhouse. And we'll get into the George Floyd thing in here in just a minute. But we were told, look what we were told about Kyle Rittenhouse. Boy, he was made out to be a bad dude. Should he have not been there? Perhaps not. But, he had a right to be there as much as anybody else did, for that matter. And I think his heart was in the right place. So, and then we had George Floyd. Well, actually, we had George Floyd before that last one. But we were told that George Floyd was murdered by 4 white police officers. One was Asian and one was black. The arresting officer was actually black. And we were told a lot of stuff about that wasn't true, weren't we? And that the media bears the responsibility on that, as far as I'm concerned. We had the Summer of Love and the mostly peaceful protests. I don't trust the media at all. They're not doing their job at all. It's so biased and so polarized, so leaning to one side, it's ridiculous. Like I said, we're coming up on the most important election in our history. And it's kind of hard to gauge how this is going to go. I know I have my way I want it to go. I cast my vote yesterday for the candidate that only has one accent. So it doesn't, it isn't a chameleon and changes for every different audience that they go to. Oh, and look at, I had my thoughts about RFK when he came on the scene. There's a lot of things that I thought he was kind of out there on, is his environmental stuff. And, the more I I watch and follow RFK, the more I like him. His stance on the crap that they put in our foods. Let me ask you a question, YouTube. When you go to the grocery store, there is a health food section in a lot of grocery stores. So what's the rest of the food? If there's a health food section, what is the rest of the food? The stuff that they're putting in our food is we need to look into that and put a stop to that. And the same thing, RFK and vaccines. Am I an anti-vaxxer? Absolutely. Absolutely. You can have your opinions. You can get all the vaccines you want. I'm not touching them with a 100-foot pole. I want nothing to do with them. Same thing with dentists. I haven't been to a dentist since 1989, and I'm not going back. So any dentists that are watching this, I don't trust you. I don't trust you at all. You know, dentists want or supposedly support fluoride in their toothpaste. It's dangerous and it shouldn't be there. Do your research, YouTube. You can come at me all you want. I don't care. I've done mine. So, you know, you're free to think what you want. But look what the media has done to RFK. Look what they've done to Tulsi Gabbard. It wasn't too long ago, Tulsi Gabbard was on a domestic terrorist watch list, couldn't fly. And Tulsi Gabbard, you know, like her, love her or not, how do you arrive that she is a domestic terrorist? I think she's got her head screwed on pretty straight for the most part. She's still a Democrat as far as I'm concerned. And I used to be a Democrat. I left the Democrat Party back after the 2000 Democratic National Convention in 2000. The Boy Scout leadership had just voted on whether or not to allow homosexuals into leadership. And they voted it down. Fast forward just a little while after that, the Boy Scouts were slated to carry the colors out on the stage for the opening ceremony for the Democratic National Convention. When they did, they were practically booed off the stage. Let that sink in a little bit. The Boy Scouts had no say in this whatsoever. They're back there. This is a big deal for them. They're carrying the colors out on the stage for the opening ceremony, and they were treated like that. I really wasn't a Democrat. At the time, I was listening to Rush Limbaugh and different programs, and I just hadn't bothered to change my party affiliation. But so I changed it to Republican. And the last time I renewed my CDL, my commercial driver's license, I changed my party affiliation to no party. Both parties are corrupt. You're not going to convince me any different. This insider trading that goes on in our government, in our leaders, they're supposed to be our elected representatives. They're not leaders. Most of them are a bunch of pond scum, as far as I'm concerned. This insider trading, that should never have been allowed in the first place. Them voting themselves automatic pay raises, come on. And look at, if they serve a full term in the Senate and a term and a half in the House, they get their full pension for life. Where else can you do that? And they shouldn't be allowed to do it. They should be the first ones stepping up to help out with what's going on in our country. After these last 4 years, if you haven't seen that something needs to change in our country, if you're happy with how things have gone the last 4 years, boy, I don't know how you can be. I don't know how you can live in the real world and can be. But if you're happy, now I guess vote for more of it, because that's what you're going to get. Oh, let's talk about Trump for a minute. Here's a billionaire that is, has never had public office until he ran for president. He was a Democrat. Before that, he changed his party affiliation to Republican so he could get the support of the Republican Party. I guess that's why he did that. But he was pretty popular in New York until he did that, until he ran for president. And all of a sudden, these people that loved him, wanted the photo ops with him and stuff, can't stand him anymore. Now, here's somebody that it doesn't matter which way things go in this election, he's going to be fine. He's not going to have to live through it. He's got enough money. He's got grandkids. It makes me wonder why he would go through all this that he's been put through. This guy has really been through hell. I mean, it's just nonstop. When his first term, when he was actually president, before he had even been inaugurated, there was talks of impeaching him. And I'm concerned about how this election is going to go. I've been following politics since I was early on in high school, because we milk cows here on the farm, and my dad always had AM radio on, and we're always listening to the news on WMT radio here in Iowa. It's a pretty well-known radio station in eastern Iowa. And, it was always news. And when in history class in high school, we actually had a history class. Every Friday we'd have a current events class in history. And I always fared really well in that, because we'd be asked who is the Secretary of the State, who's the Secretary of Defense, blah, blah, blah. And I could spit these names out because I heard them day in and day out. I couldn't pick them out of a police lineup because I heard about them on the radio. Didn't watch a lot of TV to see them. But so anyway, with Trump, look at Fannie Willis, look at Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, all these people. Alvin Bragg, let me borrow your name for a minute there, bud. They bragged about they were going to go after Trump and they were going to get him. Fannie Willis, as far as I'm concerned, your Fannie ought to be thrown in jail. And when it comes time for the election now, all this talk about Trump being a convicted felon, hold the phone a little bit here. In my opinion, had he not been running for president, they wouldn't have bothered with him one bit. I don't think, to borrow from James Comey, I don't think any reasonable prosecutor would have brought this case at all. They wouldn't even have taken a second look at it. They'd have gone on for some low-hanging fruit somewhere else. So this is all politically motivated in my eyes. So you think what you want. You don't have to agree with me. I don't really care. My opinion's pretty well set in concrete. You're not going to change me from what I have seen. So, and I've noticed that Jamie Raskin, where's he from? Maryland? Dirtbag. When he came out and said that no matter what, if Trump wins the election, they're not going to accept the results. And who has to certify the results? Doesn't the vice president have to certify those results? And who's our vice president? This could be interesting. No matter which way this goes, there's going to be a lot of unhappy people in the United States. And judging from what the left has done in the past, if Trump wins, and I think there's a reasonably good chance that he's going to. And I sure throw my support behind him, because I'm not wanting this country to become socialist or communist. And we are heading down a dark road. We have been these past 4 years. When Biden came in and was elected, let's back up to that just a little bit. Wasn't Biden like in a distant fifth place going into South Carolina, the third primary or whatever? A distant fifth. And all of a sudden he won, and Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota and Pete, however you say his last name, Buttigieg or whatever, who is our transportation secretary. What a bang up job he's doing, huh? Yeah, that was a sexual orientation appointment, if there ever was one, along with our Health and Human Services secretary. And that's one I should get into here in a minute. But Biden all of a sudden is in first place after being in distant fifth, and Amy Klobuchar and Buttigieg dropped out right away. And, she's back as a senator, and Buttigieg gets a cabinet appointment. I think there were some shenanigans that went on there. And all of the executive orders that Biden came up with right away to undo stuff that Trump had done, it's like, it's maddening. The pendulum swings one way, then it swings the other. It seems like the pendulum is swinging out of control. It's going to make a 360 here pretty quick if we don't get this righted. And we have a chance to do that. So if you know someone, if you're on the same page I am, and I cannot understand how you can't see this, what I'm seeing. But if you're not on the same page, then God bless you. Have at it. But all this calling Trump Nazi and he's like Hitler and all this stuff. You know what? You people that are saying that, you're regurgitating what the media is putting in your head. And it's a terrible place to be when your brains are in someone else's head. And if you truly believe that, let me tell you something. If the greatest generation were to return today after fighting the World War II on two separate continents simultaneously with two very powerful adversaries, and here you call somebody like Trump a Nazi, I think you'd be wearing your teeth out the back of your head. I think they'd be putting you down in short order. He's not a Nazi. You're throwing that term around, and it's a nasty term. You're throwing that term around and where it doesn't fit, and you have no business doing that. So if I may say to you, knock it off. Cut that out. You have no business doing that. So in this time, if you're undecided, or if you're a person, let's go this way. If you're a person that doesn't vote, come on. Let's look at what the Amish are doing in Pennsylvania. They're coming out in the hundreds of thousands, and they historically don't vote. They're voting now. They're seeing what I'm seeing. So some of you people that have your heads buried in the sand and you're following the media around, do yourselves and do your country a favor. Turn off the news. Quit listening to these 30-second sound bites of people running for office. It's, Joe Smith eats babies. Why, that son of a whatever. None of that's true. Come on, do your research. Don't believe what what the media is spoon feeding you. Call them out on it. Make them do their job. So they have an important job to do. They're just not doing it. So anyway, thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope that there's enough people out there that agree with me that we can right this ship. We have a chance to do it. Let's get after it, America. Let's do this peacefully. Let's keep this under control, and let's get our country back. Let's make the media do their job, and let's hold our elected officials accountable. Let's knock off the insider trading. Let's get them to knock off sending all this money to Ukraine. I have been on the phone and sending emails to my elected representatives, and neither one of my senators, my U.S. senators, was up for re-election this time. And as it stands right now, neither one would get my vote for their support of sending all this money to Ukraine. Look at what's pouring across our southern border. There are countries that have emptied out their prisons, and they're pouring across. Their crime rate went way down, and ours went way up. Why do you think that is? Why do you think health insurance is going up so dramatically? Or drastically, maybe I should say. Health insurance is skyrocketing. Why do you think that is? Could it be all the illegal aliens coming in, overwhelming our system that they're not paying into? And this business of giving them Social Security, and the Democrats saying that the Republicans want to take away your Social Security, let's hold them accountable. Let's hold their feet to the fire and make them do their jobs. If they won't do their jobs, let's primary them. And if it's serious enough, prosecute them. There's a bunch of people in our government that should be going to prison. They absolutely should be going to prison. So come on, America, let's wake up. There's more important things than football and Dancing with the Stars and stuff. Let's get on the ball here and pay attention to what's going on in the world. We're on a razor thin edge of World War III right now. And maybe by the time the election is held, maybe we'll be in World War III. I sincerely hope not. I don't want no part of it. So, and we'll get to January 6th another time. I was hoping to cover that this time, but this is going to be getting too long. So thanks for watching, YouTube, and we'll see you for the next one, hopefully.